This is why so many people are sick. Ultra-processed foods, microplastics, chemicals, and seedless everything. That's one reason why we started to grow our own food. Real food, real seeds, real soil, and real nutrients. No chemicals, no fertilizers, no pesticides. Everything non-GMO and heirloom seeds. And so I think most people have become completely disconnected from where their food actually comes from and how it's actually grown. And so this is our dryland grain crop field, and we're growing sorghum and sunflower. The reason we're growing these is because these are crops that are pretty drought tolerant, and we can use them for grains to feed our animals. We can feed ourselves with it. We can feed chickens, cows, sheep, horses, pretty much any animal. You can use these grains to feed them. And so on this side, we're growing a lot of sorghum. And sorghum is a really nice crop because it has a lot of many different uses. Not only can we feed our animals with it, but we can also use it to make flour, which we can use to make things like bread and tortillas and things like that. It's very similar to corn and how it grows, except it uses a whole lot less water, which is why we're growing a lot of it. And so it's not just a grain crop. You can also harvest the stalks like you would sugar cane. Once it grows taller, when it's still fresh, you can cut the stalks and use the sap to make sorghum syrup, which is similar to molasses, which is a nice sugar you can use to preserve your food or use it and make things with. And so the sorghum syrup, you can eat it, you can preserve food with it. There's also many different uses you can use that for as well. And so these plants, we need to thin them out. So we scattered the seed through and we planted them before it rained. And so now we're gonna go through and thin these plants out so that they'll have more space to grow. They're not gonna be competing as much. And then over on this side, we planted our sunflowers. And these are a mammoth sunflower, which grow very tall, probably at least 8 to 10 feet. And sunflower is a native plant here in Oklahoma, and so it can do pretty well on its own. But we plan on growing these so that we can harvest the seed as grain. And so the seed can be used to feed birds like chickens, guineas, different animals. We can also feed our sheep with it. We can mix it with the sorghum and the corn and the other things that we're growing to make a nutritious forage for our animals, especially in the winter time when they're not able to graze. And so the goal here is to be self-sufficient so that we're not as reliant on the store to feed ourselves or our animals. And so to really be completely self-sufficient, it would actually really take a whole community of people doing these types of things so that we could depend on each other instead of depending on going to Walmart or going to the feed store to feed ourselves. This is very important, especially as prices fluctuate, you deal with scarcity, food shortages. We need to be able to grow our own food. And so we're still learning ourselves, and there's still a whole lot more we need to plant out in this field. We still got to get this area tilled up, and we plan on expanding it down with more sunflower, and I'm thinking I may even put some peanuts over on this side. And so this is just one thing we're doing out here to be more self-sufficient and less reliant on the local grocery store or the feed store. So let's head on down to the other field and we'll show you what we got growing over there. And so what you're looking at here is one of our irrigated fields. This is our watermelon patch. Each row is about 100 feet, and we probably fit about 30 plants on each row. This is crimson sweet yellow watermelon. So the flesh inside is yellow, and it's really good. It's my favorite watermelon to grow, my favorite watermelon to eat. And so growing food yourself, it becomes a lot harder to eat the food that's in the store. And you'll realize that as you start to eat food fresh out of the garden, it tastes nothing like what you're gonna get in the store. And so we let our animals graze in these areas before we planted in them. We had our sheep in this area at one point in time. We also had our horse Coco. As you can see, she grazes around here. And so as they graze, they eat some of the weeds, and they also add a lot of manure and organic matter to the soil. So these are still pretty young plants that we've started. So we're working on getting them established. And so to let them get established, we had to move the sheep so that they wouldn't mess with them. And once they start getting a little bit bigger, we're gonna move our horse. Right now, she doesn't mess with the plants because it's so small, it's not worth for her to try to graze them. But as the things get a little bit bigger, she may become an issue trying to eat our plants, especially the corn and the sorghum and some of our grain crops. And so let's go head over to our corn patch and we'll show you what we're doing over there. And so this is our corn patch, or our corn plot, where we have 4 rows of corn, and we planted a Montana Murado maize corn, which is another grain crop. And so the reason we planted this is because it's not like sweet corn. Grain corn is a lot more hardy and more tolerant to drought than sweet corn is. And also we planted the Montana Murado because it's a purple grain corn. And so it grows purple corn on it, which is full of anthocyanins, which is an antioxidant. And so it's really good for you, and it'll be really good for our animals. We can use it to make purple grain flour, make purple tortillas and tortilla chips, and we can also feed our animals with it. And so this plot this year will mostly be used for seed that we can grow next year and hopefully expand to grow a lot more. And then on this side, we've planted some tomatoes. We've got 2 different varieties, Roma tomato and a homestead tomato. The homestead tomato is like a slicing tomato, your typical average tomato. And the Roma, a lot of people know, is a paste tomato. And so we can use that to make sauces and salsa. And so this is just some of what we got planted so far. We got a lot more we plan on getting planted, hopefully before the rain comes. And we should be in pretty good shape. I dug out this irrigation pond, and this is how we've been watering our crops in this area. Down in here, we've got more watermelons, crimson sweet yellow. And so we probably got about 50 watermelons in this patch. They're spaced out a little bit more. And so we're hoping that these ones will grow a little bit bigger, and we maybe be able to grow some bigger melons over in this area. And I did these trench rows because they hold water. When it rains, it naturally will irrigate the crops. It holds water and it reduces erosion. This field used to be a field that kind of floods. It's in kind of a natural floodplain. And so I utilize that to hold and store water for our crops. But it also helps the land drain so that instead of flooding, now grass can grow, it can breathe, and the land isn't just sitting with stagnant wet water. And so these are the rows where we have to expand. We plan on planting more watermelon, some okra. We're gonna be planting peanuts, cucumber, and a lot of different stuff. Hibiscus. We're also trying to grow our own medicinal herbs, our own medicinal flowers, different things that we can use for different purposes. And so some of these crops is our first time growing, and some of them we have experience growing. And so it'll be interesting to see this year what we can actually grow, especially since we're off the grid. Our water is reliant on the rain mostly. And so this right here is red and green amaranth. The amaranth is gonna be another stable crop for us. It can be a fresh summer green that we can grow all summer long. And it's another plant that's more drought tolerant. It doesn't need as much water. Purple whole peas, peanuts, all these things are plants that we can grow a lot of that don't require as much water. and we can get a lot of use out of them. And so we're also growing some red and green varieties of okra. And you can see they're already starting to sprout up. Over here we have peanuts, and these also are starting to sprout. The peanuts will be really nice. It's my first time growing peanuts, so I'm excited to see what they do. And so this right here is lemon balm, an herb that we can use to make teas, and we can also use it for oils. It smells really good. And so this right here is calendula. It's a medicinal flower that we can use to make infused oils with. It's really good for the skin and hair, and it really helps with burns and cuts and things like that. And so we still got to get a lot of these in the ground, and we'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks. And so another herb that we've been growing a lot of is basil. These are some different types of basil. We got purple basil, Thai basil, and then some sacred or Tulsi basil, which is a medicinal type of basil. We've also got these sweet potatoes. You can see this one's starting to grow slips on it. And so these slips we'll be able to plant, and each slip will turn into a potato plant or a sweet potato plant that we can plant and hopefully get some good potatoes out of it. And this is more watermelon that we have to get in the ground over the next week or two. And then we got some seeds that will be starting. And so once those germinate, we'll be getting those started as well. And so this is more of the Tulsi basil or sacred basil, and it's a medicinal basil. You see they're kind of struggling in here because we've been needing to get them out. They've been in these containers for a while, and so once we get them out, they'll be able to grow bigger and greener. But we've been kind of behind on planting. So the zinnias is another flower that we got to get out in the ground, and it's a flower mainly used for the pollinators and just attracting beneficial insects. We've also got some peppers started. And so we're nowhere near being completely self-sufficient, but we're working towards it. And over time, we'll be adding more and more crops, growing more and more things around the homestead. And so I'm gonna try to get some of these plants in the ground today. We're trying to get them in the ground. Hopefully we should be getting some rain soon. You see it's pretty cloudy right now. So the chances of rain is increasing. And so we're gonna try to get everything planted now so that they can get the rain. And so this is just some of the things we're currently growing on our homestead, but I'm interested to know, what would you grow on your homestead? And what do you think we should grow next? Let us know in the comments down below. Until next time. And so the cedar trees, it's a natural shelter. The cedar is also a natural insect repellent. So when they rub against it, the cedarwood oils goes on their skin and on their pelts, and it helps keep the ticks, the flies, and different bugs away. They also manage the lower branches, which helps reduce the fire hazard. It keeps shade, keeps them from overheating. So it's another natural way to manage the land. Most people don't understand how you can use animals to work the land. You can use sheep to help manage the trees and the grass and the weeds.